bus in America. Yes, yes, yes. Here in South Fulton, Georgia.
So happy. I think it's so important that we have conversations with people that are out there doing the work. You know, there's such a myth. It was such a myth after the November election that like it went off without a glitch. I was like, no, 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 people. It went off with hard work and people really doing the work. And you're one of those people. So just now that you're here, let me introduce you properly. This is Wanda Mosley. She's the senior coordinator in Georgia at Black Voters Matter, which is a power building organization that works with Black-led organizations primarily in rural communities. And the Black Voters Matter goal is to increase power in marginalized, predominantly Black communities. And I love this so much, if I may, this Martin Luther King Jr. quote that's sort of at the core of the work that you do, which is that power at its best is love implementing the demands of justice, and justice at its best is power correcting everything that stands against love. That is an extraordinary anchor for the work that you do. So welcome and Happy New Year.
Thank you so much. Happy New Year to you as well. Yeah, I mean, that quote really does keep us centered and grounded in this work. Because, you know, let's be honest, it's hard work. It's hard work. But we know we do this in the spirit of love. We love our folks. We love Black people. We believe in Black people. We support Black people. So that helps us be centered when we're out here doing this hard work.
And, you know, there's a lot to unpack and unwind from a history of oppression and voter suppression, a lot of messaging that needs to change, a lot of difference in understanding about what people's power is and that Black people have power and how they can use that and use their voice in this way of casting a ballot and the power of voting. So I'm so grateful for the work that you're doing. I believe in Black people too.
Thank you.
um, I believe in us. So can you talk about what the central goal of your work is? First of all, the Georgia runoff is tomorrow. So this is a very key moment, and there is a lot hanging in the balance here with this Georgia runoff. These 2 Senate seats that are open is the final like the finish line of the election that we have already been through. And we've seen that Georgia is awake and ready, and you are taking that work into this runoff, and the final opportunity to vote is tomorrow. So right now, what is at the core of what you're doing?
So now we are in the final push. We are making certain that those folks who did not vote early in person or did not submit an absentee ballot have all the information that they need to vote. There is still time to submit the absentee ballot, but only in person. So we're encouraging folks to take that to the drop box. We are doing phone calls, we're doing text messages, we're on the ground. If people need to know where the drop box is, we can find that information for them. If they need rides, we can get them connected with rides, either with a Lyft code or with one of our partner organizations that are offering free rides. So right now, it's getting the final push, getting bodies to the polls to get us out to vote tomorrow.
Okay, so I want to repeat that. So if you have a ballot in your hand that you have not cast yet, you cannot put that in the mail. Do not put that in the mail. You need to go to a ballot box, correct? If you need a ride, okay, if you need a ride, you guys can help people get a ride so that they can get, and maybe I can try and pin the right thing down to the bottom so people know how they can call you.
Yes.
If people need to know where to go, you can help them find out where to go. So these are really key things.
Yep, absolutely. They can go to iwillvote.org, iwillvote.org. All of that information is there. They can also reach out to us across our social media platforms, Black Voters MTR, at Black Voters with an S, MTR, and we will make sure they get all the information they need to get out and vote tomorrow, or to bring that.
Okay, I'm going to have you repeat that, Wanda. So because I'm going to pin it, Black Voters MTR.
Yep, that's us.
And then what comes after that?
So those are our social media handles, at Black Voters MTR.
Gotcha.
And then the website that I mentioned is iwillvote.org.
Got that. Okay. It's auto correcting me.
Of course it is.
Black voters, MTR. Okay, great. That I'm going to post this and see if I can pin it. Come on, work with me. It didn't do it. Well, it's in there. My comment's in there, so someone's going to see it. Let's see if I can pin it. Oh, I pinned it. Did I write it correctly?
Yep, I see it. You got it, sister. You got it.
That was exciting. Okay. Okay. How did you personally become involved in this work? Like, how did you start all this?
Yeah, so this work is really imprinted in my DNA. My great grandmother, Ollie Mae Charleston, who we all affectionately knew as Granny, worked at the voting precinct at the elementary school that my sister and I went to, Kimball Elementary in Seattle, Washington. So third grade, fourth grade, that first Tuesday in November, running around school, acting bad, cutting up. We knew we needed not to on that day because Granny was going to be there working at the polls. She was there from third grade until I was in college. So she spent almost 20 years working at the polls. So it's just in my DNA. It's in my DNA.
That's amazing. It shows you the example that we see from people, not always what they say, but what they do and how we learn that. And I think it's something for us to all keep in mind with our children and the young people that are in our worlds. It's one of the reasons I like to use my platform in this way. I feel like so often we forget how sexy being socially active is, but I think it's really sexy. I think it's really, yesterday when I was talking to Reverend Warnock, he was saying one of the baselines for
The
choosing
power is
someone
sexy.
to date is that there's somebody who, yeah, he said one of the baselines for choosing someone to date. Wait, are we cutting out? Can you hear me? Oh, I can't hear you. Ah, are you back? Nope.
I
Wanda.
think so. I hear you.
Wanda,
You hear me?
she's on a bus, guys.
I hear you.
Yeah, you're cutting in and out.
You hear me?
I wonder if
Okay.
it's mine or yours. I can hear you. Is it me, guys? Can you hear me and see me?
Did I fix it?
I don't think so. It's okay. It might be me.
Okay, what about now?
Okay, because all I heard was sexy and then you left. What I was saying is that being civically engaged is actually really sexy and exciting work. And I think that I'm grateful to have learned that. And then I was saying that I heard yesterday from Reverend Warnock that one of the baselines for dating someone needs to be that they vote.
Yes, show me your precinct card. Show me your polling precinct card.
Exactly. I was like, that's fantastic. That's amazing. Okay. So here's a really important question. What are some of the main and most important issues concerning Georgia citizens as you're out there on the ground? What are some of the things that you're hearing that are key in this election and why people need to get out and vote and cast their ballots?
Yeah, so COVID is definitely top of mind for a lot of folks, especially when we think about our folks down in Southwest Georgia. Shout out to everybody in Dougherty County and Albany, the Good Life City, where at one point early on in the pandemic, the city of Albany was the hot spot, not in Georgia, not in the country, but in the world. Per
Wow.
capita, they had gotten to number 3 in the world in terms of deaths. So then when you overlay, COVID, the lack of leadership that we have seen in getting us prepared and getting us through this pandemic, then you add on top of that our state is one of only 12 states that does not have the ACA. So healthcare was already a challenge before you added a pandemic. So those are the topics that folks are talking about. And then we're also concerned about racial justice, right? We are all in a time and a place where systemic racism is finally becoming a topic of discussion, where we see a lot of our allies who are finally at a point where they are ready to accept and hear what we have been saying for decades, if not centuries, in terms of how we as Black people live in this country. So this is a really interesting time that we find ourselves in. And I also must point out, Tracee, that also on the ballot tomorrow is a seat for the Public Service Commission. In a nutshell, those are the folks who just for our utility bills. So that seat is just as important. I know most folks are focusing on the Senate, but talk to my folks down in Albany who routinely see light bills that are $800, $900, $1,100 a month, and they'll tell you that that seat, even though it's down at the bottom, that's the most important seat.
Yeah, and that's something to actually say and repeat, is that it's up and down the ballot. We often look at that top rung of the ballot, but all of these positions are what affect our daily lives as Americans, particularly in the counties and the area that you are in, and having that information so that you can really let those people be public servants that are actually working for you on your behalf and actually stand up for your needs and what you are dealing with on a daily basis is so important. So that's a great reminder. And then I think also for all of us, COVID relief, figuring out how to get a handle on COVID, and also how to make sure that we can all stay supported in a financial way, electric bills and not being evicted from your apartment or your home, all of those things. And we need leadership in those areas to make sure that the people that are serving us are actually connected to the needs of our communities, for sure. Thank you for naming that. I think that's really important. So how can people, okay, we went through the voting. How can people best support the work that you're doing? Because this is work that you're doing all year round. This is not just about this runoff and this election tomorrow, but this is about the work that happens all year round that lays the groundwork for moments like this, that creates the relationship, the trust, and the building of community and that collective spirit. That's what happens on a daily basis all year round. So how can people support this work that you do? Because it's so important. And I just want to repeat again, you know, I kept hearing after the November election, like, oh, it was the safest election. It was all this. It's because of the work that people like you do. It's because of what you do all year round, and particularly around these moments. So what can we do to keep supporting you?
Yeah, so you can definitely follow us on social media. If you are in a position to make a financial donation, we definitely need those. You can also sign up to volunteer. You can share the information that's out there. I mean, look, in a lot of ways, 2020 was almost easy because 2021 is really where we are going to test our fortitude and what it is that we want to do in terms of building power. So I'll briefly give you a couple of examples. We know that here in Georgia and in many states across the country, the election was really decided by vote by mail. We are in a pandemic. People wanted to have a safe option. We saw shenanigans and foolishness trying to defund the U.S. Postal Service. So we know that here in Georgia, during our legislative session, that the other side will be coming for vote by mail. They're going to pass laws, legislation to make it more difficult to vote safely, which is crazy. So that's something that we're going to be working on. And then another story that I like to share, because, you know, for us, the work is really at the local level, like you said, building power. And so I think one of the big headlines that gets lost in the 2020 election is the work done in Southeast Georgia with our folks in particular in Glenn County. So I'll do a quick shout out to A Better Glenn, 223 Foundation, and This Is What Voting Looks Like. The folks down in that part of the state mobilized and decided that there was time for new leadership in terms of their district attorney. So the district attorney who refused to file charges against the people who murdered Ahmaud Arbery was voted out. That person no longer has a job. They are updating the resume just like so many other Americans. And now they are ushering in a new district attorney. And so for the folks down there, this is where the real work starts, because now you've got to come in and get parameters in place for accountability. We can't just let anybody have a seat. Now you got voted in, but that was just the beginning. That was just the job interview. Now we got to get to the point where you hear and understand what it is that we, the people, need from you in terms of leadership and how you're going to govern. So we're super excited to work with the folks down there on that piece. And, you know, again, this is where we got to roll up our sleeves and do the real work.
And, you know, let me say, so growing up, I don't think I realized that voting wasn't a transaction. It's actually a full-time imagination and accountability. And it's like an exchange. It's like a thing that keeps happening. So you cast your ballot, and then you keep, and by the way, that ballot is your currency. It's the thing. Yeah, it is though, because if we all show up as Black people, then we have that currency to then go, look, we got you in office. now we have to have this exchange, and you need to be accountable to us, your constituents, to make sure that our needs and what we need to feel safe and to be safe actually can continue to happen. So thank you for pointing that out. And I think that's something for all of us to continue learning as we grow up and realize that this democracy is ours. It is ours. And if we keep using our voices, not just to cast our ballots, but then in continuing that conversation, we actually can keep dismantling and walking. And as John Lewis says, like, or who said it? I don't know, bending that arc of justice in the right direction. That's how we do it. It is we the people. And that means we have to show up. And I'm so grateful for this conversation. I'm grateful for your time. You're doing such important work. We're going to remind everybody again. I pinned down to the bottom of the screen. You can go to iwillvote.org if you have questions. You can go to, please follow Black Voters. I don't think I did it right. Is there an S?
Yes, Black Voters with an S, MTR.
Okay, so oh boy. Okay, so it's Black Voters. I'm gonna take that out. Hold on. Okay, it's Black.
And while you're doing that, Tracee, let me just say really quickly that the co-founders of the organization, Cliff and Latasha, were very intentional about naming this organization Black Voters Matter, and not votes. We're not just going around collecting up votes. We are building power because we are doing work for the voters who are the people.
This is good. That's very helpful. And okay, look at this. I'm a pin. Oh. Hold on. I messed it up again. Whatever. Okay. It's Black Voters Matter, MTR. You can go to their Instagram page and get information there. It'll take you to their website. But there is support for everybody. You have questions, there's somewhere for you to get those answers. You need a ride, there's somewhere for someone who's going to help you get a ride. You need to know where to cast your ballot. There's somebody who's going to help you figure that out. But the key right now is if you have a ballot in your hand, this is something you need to walk to a ballot box yourself. You can drive it there, you can walk it there, you can take your skateboard, you can take your bicycle, but don't put it in a mailbox, put it in a voter ballot box. And if you have any questions about where to find that, then you know where to go. I'm so grateful for your time, Wanda. I'm grateful for the work that you're doing all year round. Thank you, and let's get out and vote.
Thank you, Tracee. Yes, everybody go vote. Let's build power. This is our time, y'all.
Thank you.